Hello and welcome to this week's Rotherham Advertiser SportsChat Podcast. Joining me around the table this week is Miller's correspondent Dave Beddows and news editor Michael Upton.
Morning.
Gentlemen, Rotherham couldn't extend their unbeaten run under Neil Warnock to the end of the season. Possible case of the flip-flops out, Dave?
Maybe not. I mean, all good things come to an end. I thought Rotherham looked a little bit leggy. We said this before, haven't we? One or two recent games. Not quite at the intensity we've seen in that, at the height of that unbeaten run. Of course, they were chasing a goal early on and chasing the game after that. Liam Best will still be having sleepless nights having missed the Citroen Eddies before half time. And I think, I thought it was about a fair result in the end. I thought Blackburn shaded it.
Michael, were it to be expected following securing safety? It was job done, weren't it? It doesn't matter about these games too much.
Perhaps it is to be expected, but I think we put the pundit's curse on them, didn't we, last week by saying that they could go to next season with the 15 they were targeting. I think it's perhaps understandable. I don't think Neil Warnock were very impressed. We did say ourselves last week that there were players playing for contracts there, and I don't think one or two of them would have done themselves a great deal of good. Ironically, the winning goal was the absence of that defensive solidity we've talked about so much in the last few months. Just really terrible defending from the cross.
Well, Dave, it's the first goal that Rotherham have conceded from a set piece since Neil's been there. I mean, one in 15 games, something like that. You can let him off with that, can't you?
About 6 minutes in, I mean, the guy Shane Duffy's really hardly had to jump. It was easily a very, very soft goal to concede from Rotherham. We could say the heads on the team bus, but it was an home game, wasn't it? But I don't think we're totally switched on by that point, so we'll forgive him that one. Michael,
Neil Warnock said after the game that the preparation might not have been 100%, a few players late coming in from the warm-up into the dressing room. Is he just trying to keep the heat on the players, just trying to let them know that he's still there, he's still watching, he's still taking these things seriously?
Yeah, I hope so, too, because, let's not underestimate the scale of the achievement. I think when we're looking at Manager of the Year potential coming into the season, that Warnock should be right up there for the job he's done. And the players have responded, as he said, to his managements. But there's also been a lot of really good performances by the players who maybe didn't show what they should have done under Evans and Redfern, and they need to keep going to the end of the season to prove that they're worth sticking with, some of them.
Dave, speaking of awards, it was Rotherham United's end of season dinner on Saturday night. Lee Camp picked up Player of the Year, rightly so?
Absolutely. I'm seeing the other way. He played on Saturday with 3 top saves again. He was the man of the match, and to me, we're just a shoe-in for the Player of the Year. Kirk Broadfoot pushed him close, but I think over the piece, you've got to give it Camp. Bear in mind, he's been playing in a struggling side a lot of the time. He's been well worked, and he's had a lot of work to do behind that back four. Before Neil Warnock came in, and he's made saves since Warnock come in. I think an obvious choice.
Michael has got to be one of Steve Evans' best signings for Rotherham, hasn't he?
Absolutely. I think you won't hear anyone who'll say a bad word against him. I think he's also been very important as a character in the dressing room, as they say. He's got a good bond with the fans, bit of a cult hero. You wouldn't have many votes against him, I would have thought. Dave said, Kirk Broadfoot's put his shift in after shift in a struggling side, but Camp has literally saved points, and that's what's proved vital. Not in just the last 3 months, but also when they could hardly scrape a point together.
Dave Grant Ward picked up Young Player of the Year, the young Tottenham Hotspur loanee. He put a tweet out after the game saying he enjoyed his last game at the New York Stadium. And any chance of Rotherham getting him back next season?
I don't think so. I'm speaking from Neil last week because we ran a piece in the paper saying as much. Although he hasn't given up total hope, but I think the odds are that this lad is going to try his luck somewhere else. He was prominent again on Saturday. Held on to the ball a bit. Took a touch too many once or twice for me. Maybe trying too hard. So there is parts of his game he's still going to improve on. But for 21, he's emerged to become a powerhouse on that right-hand side.
Michael, we've seen a real development in his game, hasn't he? I mean, early season he looked a little bit weak, a little bit feeble on the ball. Now he's one of Neil Warnock's main attacking threats.
Well, Grant Ward announced himself, didn't he, in that pre-season game where he scored an absolute thriller.
Yeah.
And we had great hopes for him. But am I right in thinking he was hooked at half-time on that first day?
Yeah.
Having been about made about as much of an impression as A.D. White did, and we know what happened to him. But he seems to have developed into not only, as Dave says, a bit of a powerhouse, but also someone who's been consistent throughout the struggling times, and also as things have picked up, he's been very important. and he does have a goal and a proper shot, doesn't he?
He never hides, even away from home. He's not one of them players who goes into a shell. He's always there, making himself available, or try and take his man on. He's very positive, and I think he energises others around him as well.
Earlier in the season, we were talking about Juju Afoe from Norwich being quite unusual, and Upton and Joe as well, because they were direct. I think what we've seen in Neil Warnock is Grant Ward has turned into a more direct player. He seems to be interested in getting forward and making things happen, and perhaps that's partly down to the defensive midfield pairing he's had to work alongside.
Also, one goal of the season for that strike against Burnley as well, a cracking goal from a young man. Let's move on then and look forward now. We'll leave the Blackburn game there. I don't think there's too much more to be said about it, really. Look forward to the last game of the season, Dave, of what has been quite a dramatic season, shall we say. Hull away. Can Rotherham realistically end it on a positive?
I mean, it's easy to overlook this game, but it's important what you do in the last match. It sets the tone, doesn't it, for summer. It'd be just nice to tag another win on, just to sign off with, rather than it being tailing away. Hull, unpredictable, aren't they?
But they are in the playoff positions, and they'll be eager to keep a good run of form going into those playoffs.
Absolutely, and they are capable of having blips. I mean, the motivation is not going to be sky high, is it? Because they're already wedged in them playoffs. So you just don't run. I mean, it won't be a packed out ground on Saturday. I want to thought Rotherham go there and spring a surprise.
Michael, can they do it? I mean, on that great run, not so many weeks ago, they beat the likes of Middlesbrough, Sheffield Wednesday, drew with Derby County. Can they upset another promotion chaser?
Well, the stats say it's not going to happen. It's an unbelievable tougher when you look at it. Hull have lost one game at home all season. They've scored more home goals and conceded fewer home goals than anyone apart from Middlesbrough. I mean, how Middlesbrough's defensive record has been at home. So you wouldn't have thought so, but of course it happened at Christmas, and Rotherham throughout the season have excelled against teams at the top half. I think it will also work well in Rotherham's favour that Hull have got something to play for. They will come at them because it's important to secure that position in the playoffs, isn't it? To get that the right draw in the playoffs when they're drawn. So I think Hull will be pressing for a good result, and maybe that'll spark Rotherham into a good performance. I'll be looking ahead to next season though, because I think there's some cracking sides that I'm going to be popping along to, aren't there?
Well, there is, Dave. It's a great time to be following Rotherham, isn't it? Their third season in succession in the Championship. Teams, Aston Villa already confirmed relegation. Newcastle, Sunderland, all in and around the relegation from the Premier League. Something to look forward there for Millers fans, isn't there?
It is. There's going to be some. They could do a sticking 3,000 or 4,000 extra seats on the away end, I think, for one or two of these matches next season. And I mean, Wigan are very capable, aren't they? They're going to be a solid club. I mean, we say it every year, but it does look a stronger section next time around.
We said that last year.
I know, which means that again, Rotherham's recruitment is going to have to be very focused and intelligent, and they're going to have to go for quality. Probably more than quantity more than ever. Is it
only me around this table who feels that Rotherham are now in a better position to recruit better? Feel like there's a little bit more of a structure and a little bit more of a general idea of what direction they want to go in. I'm more confident going into the summer.
Perhaps, but then we've got uncertainty of the manager. I think they need to pin Neil Warnock down, and if Neil's not going to do it, they need to decide very quickly whether or not it's going to be a Kevin Blackwell job, or they're going to have to.
So Steve Evans is going to be free by the looks of it.
Bring somebody else in. I have nothing but fondness and respect for Steve Evans after what he did for the club, but I think his recruitment policy last summer didn't do him any favours. Interestingly, some of his better signings have been have emerged as better signings under different managers. So I think we know what I'm talking about there. It'd be very interesting next year to see how the likes of Aston Villa shape up. And I've got some miserable memories of North East derbies against the likes of Darlington and Hartlepool. So wouldn't it be great to be looking at St James Park and possibly even Stadium of Light as a trip out?
Right, gentlemen, it's come to the time we ask for your predictions. The last time we'll do this season, of course. Dave, Hull away, what are we thinking?
I think it might be. I'll tick for a low-scoring draw, like one apiece.
Michael?
It's not in my nature. I've been very pro Millers this season, but I can't see anything other than Hull getting maybe a 1 or 2-0 win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. If you'd like to join in with the conversation or send your predictions through, you can by tweeting at Roadtizer Sport. Make sure you pick up the advertiser on Friday for all the preview to that big last game of the season away at Hull. I'll thank you once again for listening and for putting up with me with this awful cold that I've got. Thank you very much.